I tell you these stories because it's just crazy the stuff that I find happens in the US. So that's the whole point of sharing this with you. I don't want to just share the good stuff. I want to share like what really happens. And very few deals are just 100% smooth. Like there's obviously smooth elements to them, but you've got to be able to deal with the things that come up as they come up. Welcome back to REI Hot Seat. Andrew Hines here for a little bit of a solo episode. So I haven't been able to coordinate too much with the team because I just had a new little one, and technically my calendar's blocked off, but I was able to sneak in here. And rather than let a week go by without an episode, I figured I'd give you a little solo update. So basically what I'm going to do today is we're going to be reviewing a deal that I did in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is a flip. Basically, it's a property that we bought not really intending to renovate because we knew it had some serious potential for developers to just come and knock it down. And I'll give you a little bit of the story. I have talked about this story a little bit in passing on this show as well as my podcast because it's been going on for a long time. For those of you who don't know, I do flip properties in Florida. We do houses and land. We've also now just closed on our first property in Texas. We have many offers out on properties in Georgia as well. So we're sort of expanding slowly. Knowing that we don't really need to. Florida in general is obviously a very big place with a lot of properties. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this one. So this is a house in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, as mentioned. And when we bought it, it looked more or less like what you can see in these listing photos. It was obviously filled with junk and stuff on the yard and stuff. So that's about the extent of what we did. Now, when we originally bought this, it actually worked out really well for us and our team, because the guy that got on the phone, at the time we bought it, it could have been probably worth around $1 million, just as is. The market did come down a little bit since we bought it, but the guy was just agreeable. We came in, he originally wanted 1.1. We had him under contract for $800,000. And then at the time we thought we were going to be renovating it. So we went for the inspection of the house. We had our realtor partner go out, and we just said, hey, we need another 50 off. He agreed. And it wasn't until later that we realized the appetite really was people who just wanted to knock this house down. Because there really in the neighborhood had not been a sale under $1 million. And we just figured, okay, well, we're going to have to invest in some renos. We need to make a profit margin in here too. But the teardown angle is what really helped us, because with the teardown potential, we were actually able to sell this before we even closed on it. And there's a little wrinkle to this. So we actually had this property under contract right around the beginning of July, and then we ended up closing on it around July 29th. And somewhere right around, I don't know, mid-July, we got an offer on this property for somebody who wanted to buy it, and they could close August 20th. So it was shaping up that Matt and I, my business partner, were going to own this property for about 20 days. We were closing on end of July, start of August. And we were okay with that. I mean, it's obviously it was a $750,000 buy to us. So it's quite a bit of interest to carry. But we were okay with that. It was a decent deal all the same. Well, long story short, we got a $50,000 deposit from this buyer, and then 4 days before closing, they called up the realtor and said, hey, we need an extension. We need time to arrange our financing. Well, this was a firm deal. There was no loan involved in the offer. It was a cash offer, meaning that they don't get the option to just go ahead and use financing. Like technically they can on closing. We wouldn't have ever argued about that, but that's not the way they wrote their offer. It wasn't contingent on them getting financing. And so we basically just politely said, no, the deal is still closing on Tuesday. If not, your deposit basically becomes ours. Well, they had a title company closing the transaction, which we really did not want. In my opinion is my title company closes every transaction. I'll pay more for that, especially being Canadian and just dealing with some of the international logistics. I need a title company that knows me. So we bent on this one, and it was the last time we bent, but they put their $50,000 deposit with their title company, who they had an in-house attorney working with them who was representing them. And that attorney basically lied to us and told us there were title issues to buy time for his client. So huge like ethics violation, crazy stuff. The guy could, get a ding on his bar license as an attorney. Anyways, we navigated out of that. We eventually called their bluff, got an extension to September 13th. Wouldn't you know it, September 13th rolls around again, and these guys, here's the one thing. When we gave them the extension, the bargaining chip was, you guys are going to write in here that if you don't close, if it's 12:01 a.m. on September 14th, your deposit is ours, no questions asked. Doesn't matter what the reason is. Of course, day comes up, 4 p.m. of the 13th when they're supposed to close. Yeah, we're not closing today. We will not pay more. But if you give us, 3-4 more days, we will send the title company the money right away. We'll send them the $50,000. For us, we're obviously infuriated because, they're supposed to close. We're counting on that money coming back. And they already said that the money was ours regardless. So we actually still had to fight for about 2 weeks, get our attorney involved to get that money. And it didn't cost that much. It was like an hour or two of the attorney's time. So say $500-$600 in total cost. But we did get the $50,000. And it was mailed to us, finally cleared. So then here we are, relisting the property. And I tell you these stories because it's just crazy the stuff that I find happens in the US. So that's the whole point of sharing this with you. I don't want to just share the good stuff. I want to share like what really happens. And very few deals are just 100% smooth. Like there's obviously smooth elements to them, but you've got to be able to deal with the things that come up as they come up. And that's something I'm used to doing in Canada. I don't really recall a lot of deals just going perfectly smooth. There's always something. It isn't over until it's over. That's always been my mentality. So I never count chickens before they hatch. If I know a deal is closing, I'm not banking on that because I just know things can happen. Whereas I do know that there are other investors who just haven't had that experience, and then they really do take a closing date seriously. I don't know what to say about that. Maybe it's just the type of properties I bought. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But far better to play it safe, in my opinion, in that regard. So we put the property back on the market, and unfortunately, it looked like the market was a little softer in the fall leading up to the election. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but a little softer, a little slower. We eventually did get some offers. In the low 900s, really like right around 900. We weren't going to have that. We had it listed originally for 1.7. So we were actually thinking maybe this is good. Maybe we'll get more money. Didn't work out that way. We immediately dropped the price down to 989 and then left it there. We ultimately ended up selling it for 935, but we were getting offers around like just under 900. In hindsight, it would have been probably better to drop the price a little bit further, but all the same, the realtor working for us managed to reach out to a couple of developers he knew of and negotiate a deal for us at 935. So we had a multiple offer situation forming about a month ago, and it worked out. So the deal finally closed. This time, the guys sent $45,000 deposit. So here we are, $50,000 in hand, thinking we might even make more on this property. Ultimately, the way it shook out, we made a touch less than we would have made had it closed on time in August. And the reason for that was our borrowing costs. Obviously, interest is a factor. There was a nice margin built into this property, but it should have gone faster. We thought it was going to. All the same. So let me go into the numbers. Actually, just before I do. So why did we feel better about this buyer? One, they sent proof of funds. Always get that in the US. I mean, even in Canada, I would highly recommend that. Get proof of funds. If somebody's coming in with a cash offer, I would never have believed somebody would put up $50,000 on a deal, not knowing how they would get it closed. Call it a cash offer when they don't have the cash to close it. I mean, I guess in theory, I can kind of believe it if they believed they could raise the money or what have you. But, the way that played out was crazy. I wouldn't have ever thought that. So I feel much more confident if somebody shows me, hey, we're flush with cash, we're ready to close it, we just need to do our due diligence, which is what happened here. This guy was clearly credible, capable of doing a demo and rebuild on the house. And showed us the proof, sent $45,000 deposit, was good with our title company. And those were just three major green flags, we'll call them, not red flags. We were just like, okay, that sounds great. This guy seems legit, very credible. And sure enough, they closed on time. Everything worked out well. So I consider this a great success. We're getting better and better at rolling with the punches and adapting to, minor cultural differences and minor, procedural differences in the US. Most of it's very similar. There are obviously nuances. There are differences, terminology differences, like use title companies instead of a lawyer, depending on the state. We're doing some stuff in Georgia now, and it looks like we're gonna have to use a lawyer to close the deals. But in Texas and in Florida, you can just use a title company, which just means lower fees generally, although the Texas one was actually kind of expensive still. And the title company will represent both sides, and it's like neutral. So there's no legal advice. It's just we're here to close the deal. Okay, let's take a look at the numbers here. So this is how this one worked out. So we actually, at a 935 sale, after all the realtor commissions, and there's like a state land transfer, there's title fees, all that. And I can share one of those on a more detailed on another date. But that worked out to be in our pocket with the title company, $894,000. Of course, if we add the $50,000, that's part of our profit. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And then we're lessing off what we paid. So when we paid for it, this was our HUD statement, which is like your statement of adjustments. In Canada, like it tells you the amount to send to the lawyer. Well, this is the amount we sent to the title company to close it when we bought it. And then this is the amount of interest we paid out with a 45-day buffer. So factoring the date we closed all the way to the date we closed. So buy closing to the sale closing, plus 45 days for just allowing us to either return the money to the lenders or reallocate that into a new deal. I'd like to build in that buffer to get a true idea of what our profit is. And that worked out to be $41,556 paid out to our lenders, which we're obviously super happy about because our lenders are happy. And, these type of success stories are obviously why new people end up lending to us as well. So that's been great. And then these were all the fees. So after we didn't close, we had some fees, some things we did. We replaced the pool pump, pump out the pool, lawn care, obviously some lawyer attorney fees, and water bills, electric bills, insurance, things like that. So these are the total costs that we had of carrying the property while we had it. And then this is the profit prior to paying our acquisitions managers. So the way our team works is right now we have 6. Do we have 6? I think we just lost one, if I'm not mistaken. So right now we have 5 acquisitions managers, and they call all of our leads. So we have a cold call center, and we have our Facebook ads that generate leads for us. And then our acquisitions team calls these people back and converts them into actual sellers that we can buy from. So our agent, Brittany, this was like her second or third day, and she got this banging deal, which is crazy. I mean, she had to wait a little bit. This was back in July, but on her second day, she scored a deal that paid out a $13,400 commission. So that's pretty cool. We're happy for her, obviously. And on that note, if you're interested in working for us as an acquisitions manager, you basically would be a profit participant in our deals. We come up with, just like this, we figure out what the calculation of profit is on the end of the deal, and you get 10% of that. So if you're somebody who understands real estate and you want to, you like sales, you're ready to work a commission job. Like, we like it. We love it having realtors work on our team because they understand that business and they know that it can take 8 months from when you start to when you get your first check. It wasn't that long for Brittany, but it was a while, and it really can be. So if you feel like you're somebody that's just relentless, you're obsessed, you'll go for it, and you're willing to take constructive feedback, you're coachable, hit me up, send me a DM maybe on Instagram, or you can send me an email at andrew@hines.com, and just let me know that you're interested. When you do, send me a link to a video just explaining why you're interested, 1 minute telling me about yourself and why you want the job. Would love to hear from you because we are growing our team. So anyways, back to the deal. Anyways, Matt and I finished up with $121,000 after paying out our commissions, and this really marks profitability for us, because up to this point we've just been investing in our advertising and our deals and our systems, and this is that point where we finally recoup everything we paid and then get profit on top. And then we also have another deal closing next week, or should be closing, this week, and that should add another, say, 75, 80 to this. And then we have other stuff in the pipeline, stuff that's listed, and that's growing and growing. We're getting, right now, we've had a really good 2 weeks. We had 14 deals signed. Out of those, I don't know how many will close, but say even 4 close out of the 14 or 3. That's still a really productive 2 weeks. Our goal was to get to a deal a week, which I feel like we're on a steady pace for that right now. And just continuing to fill the pipeline on top of our existing listings. So again, to recap, today's episode was really just about sharing what I'm up to on the US side. Kind of a deep dive into that business with a specific deal in focus because, hey, this is a deal review show. And we talk so much about multifamily and commercial, which I think is fantastic, but there are some active real estate investors that watch this show, people who want to go at it and be active. And I think this is, flipping is still very much alive. Flipping is a business, in my opinion, that works in an up market or a down market. It's all about your metrics and it's what you go after. What I look for and what we look for as a team is we want to get 70 cents on the dollar for what the property's worth today, less whatever it takes to renovate. That's sort of the metric that we're working with. So if it's a $100,000 property, we're getting it for 70 minus, like say it takes 40 grand to renovate, we're buying it for 30. And that allows us to secure our profit margins and make sure that if there's a swing and the market's up or down, if it's up, great. If it's down, we're still protected and insulated. And that's key. Like you gotta in this business, if you want to stay in this business, you can't be losing money on deals. You have to follow metrics, and those are our metrics. For land, we're less. We used to be just 50 cents across the board, 50 cents on the dollar for whatever we felt retail value of land was. Now we're more just having seen some of our properties sit, we've had to drop our prices. We see that, hey, if the market swings, you want to have a good buffer, and we're still fine on anything we own. There's lots of buffer there, but we don't want to be frustrated and make $5 grand or 10 grand on a lot. If it's low price lots, whatever, I still like to take that money, but obviously we want to make sure we're insulated, make sure we're not in a position where we're going to be taking any losses. So as I mentioned, I think flipping is very much alive. You can still do this in Canada. We felt that Florida was just a place we wanted to be. I want to grow in the US. That's a bigger destination for me going forward for just a place to do business. And let's face it, with what's happened to the Canadian dollar, it's not a bad thing to be earning US dollars and spending in Canadian, although inflation will be coming too. We will do another economic update because I feel like just so many things have happened lately. It'd be good to do another banter episode because the last week's been nuts, but that'll be time allowing. So anyways, thank you very much for tuning in for this solo episode. I feel like I'm a little out of practice. I don't get to do nearly as much talking as I used to on my podcast. So for those of you who are podcast followers, hopefully you enjoyed this one and hopefully everybody else did too. Reminder, get on the REI Hot Seat Insiders list for access to insider deals, access to stuff that isn't necessarily going to be viewed by the public. And then, of course, get in the pipeline for the guys here in the office so that they can add value to you and what you're doing in real estate. And like the show it some love. I'll see you next week.